Hi everyone, and welcome to part 2 of my soccer story. If you'd like to see part 1 before beginning this video, which I recommend you do, so it's not that confusing, a card will come across now and there will also be a link in the description so you can do that. So in the first part of my soccer story, we kind of went over when I was a kid up until about the end of high school, kind of around that time, and where I was with soccer at that point. And at that point, I developed pretty well. I had some ups and downs. I went over how as a kid I was a pretty precocious talent in the sense that I could just do things that other players couldn't. But I didn't work hard enough. As I grew up, I never really had that person to guide me, and I kind of had to figure out things along the way by myself. I did have good coaches along the way, but I did, for the most part, have to kind of practice on my own and figure stuff out, which is why I always encourage players who don't have either the best coaches or don't have access to the best coaches or facilities that you can improve through your own individual training if you put in the effort. So there are actually a few things I missed out in my first part. I'm doing this all through memory, guys. I don't have anything written down. Maybe I should have done that, but I didn't think I would need to. Certain things like professional teams and opportunities I had when I was younger, but it's not really that important because the message I wanted to get across from the first video was, not to make the same mistakes that I made, which was not working hard, not thinking that your talent is going to take you to where you need to go, when in reality it's your skill that's going to take you to that level you want to get at. And remember, skill is working on your craft or working on your game hours and hours and hours each and every day. Talent you have naturally, but the more skilled person will always be the one that wins out, meaning you could have a lot of natural talent, like I supposedly do, but if you didn't put in the effort, there are going to be players who perhaps even had less talent than you, but have worked harder to make their way to the collegiate level, to the professional level, and even to the very top. So that was the lesson I was trying to kind of convey in that first one, using my example, really learning that late on. So in this one, we're going to go over basically my college career, which was pretty short-lived, if I'm being honest, to this point right now. So I attended Alvernia University, and basically the reason I picked that school is the coach who coaches there, who I still know today, I'm still in contact with today. He did a really good job of recruiting me, if I'm being honest. I had a lot of coaches that sent me emails, that got in contact with me in many different ways, but Casey at Alvernia was very good about following up with me, staying in contact with me, basically making me feel like I would be welcomed into the program, and that I would be a player that would actually be used even in his freshman year. One of the biggest things that made me want to go to Alvernia is that I was going to get some playing time. I didn't know if I was going to start. I didn't know if I was going to get that much time, but it seemed like I could go there and get some playing time. And so that's one of the main reasons I picked it. I picked it as well because although the season before they had a pretty average season, the coach, Casey, recruited very well. My class was a very good recruitment year, so it looked like if I go there, we would have a pretty good year, which ended up happening. So I went into preseason pretty out of shape. I was coming off a few injuries, a few pretty, just kind of not like really severe injuries, I'd say, but pretty, kind of consistent string of injuries, which wasn't good. So I needed to build myself up again. So I went into preseason pretty out of shape. And although I'd say a lot of the injuries were to blame for that, there was probably a lot more I could do towards my fitness. And really make sure you have your fitness under control. It's something I've struggled with personally my whole life. I've struggled to discipline myself with my fitness because I love football, I love soccer, I love playing, but fitness is that hard work that happens behind the scenes that you just have to do. You have to get your diet under control, you have to get your fitness under control. So it's always been something I've struggled with, but have gotten better at as time has moved along. So I went into preseason pretty out of shape. I was getting cramps in my calves and my I think quads and hamstrings in the first week of preseason, which wasn't good. But overall, I went into it pretty confident. I was playing pretty well. I started getting better as preseason went along. I started playing better. And our first game came along, and it was just a preseason game. It didn't mean anything. And I didn't start, but I did come on, and I was not happy with my performance. I was definitely, just not quite ready for the speed of the college game, or not that I wasn't ready, but in that first game, I wasn't prepared for it. I was not prepared at all for it. I didn't expect it, and I had a pretty poor game. I was out of position a lot. I was playing in an unfamiliar position. I was playing center mid. I'm more used to playing striker, so I had to get used to playing center mid. And I just didn't have a good game, and we ended up losing 4-1, and I got that dejected kind of failing feeling from not only our team losing pretty comprehensively to a team I thought we should have beaten, but when you have an individual, not just average performance, but like really poor performance, it kind of eats away at you a little bit. But I learned how to get over that as the season went on. So we had that game, and then our first game came along, and things got a little bit better. Again, I didn't start, but we had more preseason go along, and I was getting more and more in shape, which means I was playing better and better. I was starting to play better in practices. I was starting to show what I could do in practices. I was starting to show that I could make things happen. I could score goals. I could set up players. So I was actually one of the freshmen who got a lot of game time in that first game. We ended up winning 7-0. It was a great way to start the season, and this was an actual season game. It wasn't preseason, and I scored 2 goals. So on my debut, technically my collegiate debut, I managed to score 2 goals, and they were pretty decent goals too. And I was very, very pleased with the performance, very pleased with the start to the season, and very pleased that I could kind of give a glimpse to the coach who put so much faith in me, by the way, by bringing me into the program and giving me some game time there, kind of repaying his faith a little with some goals. And that kind of trend would continue for the rest of the season. So in the second game, we lost pretty comprehensively again, 4-2. But again, my own individual performance, I was pretty pleased with. I was starting to relax a little. A lot of what I tell you guys is, in games, relax and play your game. Be calm, have composure. And in that first preseason game, I did not have that. I panicked. I was all over the place. I wasn't thinking clearly. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. I was unprepared. But by the second actual game, I had calmed down. I started relaxing. I started knowing and having faith in my ability. I was taking good touches. I was playing good passes. I was scoring goals. I got another goal in that game. We lost 4-2 in the end. I scored from a penalty. And I think one of the things that was very telling in that game is when we got the penalty, I didn't win the penalty, but when we got it, our coach, Casey, wanted me to take it. He shouted on the field, "David, take it, David, take it." And that honestly gave me a lot of confidence as well, because he was basically entrusting a freshman who he had just brought into the program, who it was only his 3rd collegiate game, to take a penalty. It's a very pressure situation. But again, in that game, I felt composed, I felt calm, I had relaxed a little, and I scored the penalty pretty easily. And that first week, I actually got Athlete of the Week at my university. So I was starting to get better and better as the season went along. And basically, our season got better as well. We started winning game after game after game after game. After that defeat, in that 3rd game, in the second actual season game, we started going on a winning streak, and I started scoring more goals as well. I can't remember how many games we won in a row or how long our undefeated streak went on for, but it was a very long time. Towards the tail end of the season, we just kept winning. We won, we crushed some teams. We snuck some 1-0s, and essentially we qualified for playoffs, with many games to spare. It was just a fantastic season, and I got more and more confident as the season went along, and I really truly believe that I was showing on a pretty high level what I could do. The coach was having more faith in me, my teammates were having more faith in me, and I was starting. I forgot to mention, by the 3rd game of the season, I started. And I don't think after that point, I started every game, I think, from that point, maybe except 1 game. So I was growing in confidence. I was pretty pleased with my first season. I scored 11 goals that season, and I feel like I would have had more, but I was actually our team's top goal scorer. I was 2nd top goal scorer in the league as a freshman, which was a very good achievement for me. It really gave me more faith in my ability. And I actually played half the season in midfield, which made it, I think, even better because I was taking my chances. And I remember, just having a lot of good memories from that season. and just, contributing a lot more than I thought, because my goals going into that season, because I'd come off from not playing for a bit because of a few injuries and lack of fitness, my goal was just to get game time, to maybe in each and every game be able to come on as a sub and have an impact. So I never really thought that I was going to actually go in there, be starting, and be one of the main goal scorers. I didn't think that would happen. But it shows, if you kind of get it together, you work hard in practice, you show what you can do, you express yourself, that, things like that can happen. Now, if it was today and I was doing the same thing, I would have set higher goals, just because I know that you want to set higher goals and get close to them than set low goals and hit them, but kind of plateau at that goal. But that's looking back. So really good season, 11 goals. We made it to... we actually had the best season in school history. We went on for we had 16 wins or something. I think maybe 4 losses and a draw. And 2 of those losses came against the #1 ranked team in the nation, Messiah, which they were an amazing team. We played them in our conference final, which if we had won the final, we would have qualified for the NCAA tournament. But they ended up beating us 4-1. We did make it to the ECAC tournament, which is like the NCAA tournament, except it's not national, it's regional. So it's kind of like the teams that just missed out on making nationals, and we made it to the semifinals of that tournament. I think we were a little disappointed not to make the NCAA, because you can make the NCAA with in a few different ways. You can make it by winning your conference, but Messiah beat us in the final. But you can also get in by just having a good season. And we thought we had a good enough season to make it. We beat some really good teams. I think we beat some teams that actually made it into the NCAA tournament. So we kind of figured we didn't make it because Alvernia didn't have much of a reputation. And we don't know, but hopefully it wasn't for that reason. So we were very disappointed not to make the tournament. And if truth be told, we kind of weren't really up for the ECAC. It seemed like we were just kind of disappointed. And that's not a good thing, but that's kind of what happened. So I was very pleased with my first season, that's for sure. Now, unfortunately, that would be my only season at Alvernia. I got a pretty bad injury that year, mixed with some other problems I was having at the school, which led to me leaving. I was actually going through a pretty dark time in my life personally. I was depressed. I was, just not in a good emotional, mental state. And since then, I'm fine. I don't have depression anymore. I don't have any of that. But it led to, a series of events that led to me leaving the school. With the injury, again, just so you guys can kind of learn from my mistakes, is I was having some real, kind of tightness in my lower back, and I decided to ignore it. And it's not the kind of tightness you feel after you work out, or the kind of tightness you feel after just kind of playing a few matches. It's the kind of tightness where something could go wrong if you don't get it checked out. And I didn't get it checked out. And what happened was I took a few balls down to the field to have a shooting session. I didn't even warm up. And just started shooting some balls on net. And I felt a pop. I took a shot and felt a pop. And I felt that something wrong had happened. And I've never really had a super serious injury, so I couldn't tell. And I still had adrenaline coursing through my body. So I just kind of packed up the balls and said, all right, I'll stop. And I woke up the next day in absolute agony. I had sciatica. Apparently, I had bulged a disc in my back. And it was probably one of the most painful periods physically in my life to go through that. So that definitely set me back a little. And it was definitely one of the reasons I left the college, because I was in so much pain. I just wanted to get away. That was not helping my depressed state at that point. And I just had to get out of there. So I left to kind of get my back in order. I had to do physical therapy for about 8 months to get my back to a point where I could play again. And it was a pretty dark period in my life. For those of you who have had major injuries, you'll know what I'm talking about. Being out for that long, not being able to play the sport you love, not being able to play the next season of college was devastating. It was absolutely devastating because I love this sport. You can tell I have a channel dedicated to this sport, releasing videos about this sport. I love this sport, so not being able to play was very, very, very upsetting to me. And it's why right now I'm very careful with injuries. I don't push my body beyond a certain point of pain, because I know that it could be a step away from injuring myself like that again. And that's another important point, guys. You got to listen to your body. If I was listening to my body at that point, I would not have gotten that back injury. And I probably wouldn't have, I would have probably been able to go back and play the next season at Alvernia, which would have been amazing because I was coming off such a high from my freshman year, being one of the key players, being the top goal scorer. I was ready to come out, get in great shape, work on my game even more. I was probably going to start as a striker instead of playing midfield as well, which means I'd have even more opportunity for more goals. I was hungry and determined for that to happen, but unfortunately it didn't work out that way. So for any of you who feel like your body needs a rest sometimes, you need to make sure you're focusing on recovery, because if you don't, if you fail to prepare for that, you'll end up having a layoff of maybe 8 months like I did, or even a few months is not good. So just don't push yourself when you're injured. You need to make sure you're resting up. So that was a bit disappointing. And then what happened after that, I left college and I came back the second year for the second semester. So it was after the season had already concluded. My back was better now, and I was still able to practice with the team. We weren't in season anymore, so it was just kind of like off-season training. We could be in the gym and everything, but it was kind of nice just to be able to play again consistently. Again, like I just love to play. I love to be involved in matches. I love to be playing at a high level. I found that whenever I start playing with better players, I get better. And that was evident in my freshman year, because the harder the teams we played against, the better I played against those teams. Like in the final of our conference championship against Messiah, the #1 team in the nation, I probably had the greatest half of football of my life. I was all over them, and it just kind of shows you need to, especially for you personally, if you're at a level right now that isn't challenging enough and you're kind of a big fish in a small pond, and what that means is you're just better than everyone around you, you need to move on. You need to move to a higher level. You need to be challenging yourself. You should not be the best player on the pitch. You should work on getting to the point where you are, but after you are, then you need to think about, how can I get around even better players? Because playing with better players will make you better. It will push you to be better. It will force you to work on your game to get better. And that's what happened in my case. Again, I came into preseason out of shape, and, coming off a few injuries, I needed to, work hard in order to get back into shape and get into the team, because I wasn't playing with, bad players. I wasn't playing with average players. I was playing with good players, serious players who were playing at a college level in a college environment against other really good players. And that really helped my growth. So it was good to go back that second semester of the second year and just be playing with good players again, because it was killing me not being able to do that. So I left Alvernia again after that second semester. I was going to try and go back the next year and be able to play my second year of soccer, but due to mainly financial issues, I was already in some debt college-wise, and my parents were able to help me out a little bit with paying off some of those, but not everything. So I really need to get out before I accumulated so much student loans. And I forget to mention, actually, that summer, I did play for a team along with a few of my teammates from Alvernia on a summer team. I forget the division. It's like one of the better amateur. It's like an amateur league, but it's filled with college players of all levels. So D3, D2, and D1. And I forget the name of it, but NASL maybe. I don't remember exactly. But I played on a team there. That didn't grow great again for many reasons. Basically, I kind of just left Alvernia to come back home. And then since then, I think it was around that time I started SimplySoccer, actually. I wanted to basically have something for players who, like me when they were younger, didn't have access to the best facilities or the best coaches or any of that, but still loved the game and wanted to improve. And I remember starting SimplySoccer at that point. And for a few years after Alvernia, I was on and off playing. Like I was trying to like get a job to earn money, but it was cutting into being able to play. And that was another reason I kind of started Simply Soccer. I wanted something that would kind of surround me with the sport again. You know, I'm always at my best when have soccer in my life to the point where it's a big part of my life. So I think that was also one of the motivations to starting a channel where it would also force me to be better. It would force me to practice more. It would force me to become a better player while teaching other people what I knew. So leading up to this point after college, to this point, I had a trial with a professional team about a year ago, and actually did very well on the trial. One of my former Alvernia teammates was on the team, and I just contacted the coach, you know, told him, you know, you have a former teammate of mine on there. Can I just come out to a practice and, you know, you can take a look at me and see if you want to add me to the team. And that's another good lesson, guys. You know, don't be shy to reach out to coaches. Don't be shy to reach out to teams and be like, look, you know, I'm a player. I have experience. I've played at collegiate level or whatever level you've played at. Can I just come out to a practice, play with the team, and have you look at me and see if, you know, I'm a player that you want to put on the team? And you'll be amazed at the coaches and people who will respond and be like, yeah, come on out. Because there's nothing really to lose for them. You know, you come out to the practice and you do well, they now have a player who they didn't have before, who they like, who just came to them. It's like they didn't have to do any of the work. They're like, oh yeah, come on out. We'll see if you're good. And if you are, you make the team. And if they don't, you know, they just tell you, look, we're not that interested, but thank you for coming out. And that's fine. You just move on and try out for a next team. But don't be afraid to do that. Like, I didn't do anything special. I just reached out and said, can I come practice with you guys so you can take a look at me? Here's my experience. Here's my CV. Here's basically my resume for playing. So I did that, and I actually did well. Scored a few goals we did like a scrimmage. Scored a few goals, and he wanted me to come back to practice with them, to keep playing with them, and he was definitely interested. And the only issue at that point was it took us 2 hours to get there, and I didn't have a car. So it broke down because I wasn't able to get to practices or games, which is disappointing. So since that point, it was kind of encouraging to me because it showed me that I was good enough to play at the professional level. I had a coach and a professional team and who, you know, said to me, look, come back. We want you to keep coming and practicing. We want to, you know, take a closer look at you. And that was a very encouraging thing for me. It's very disappointing that I wasn't able to actually get there, and I kind of regret not doing a little more to actually make that happen, but it was definitely encouraging. You know, since that point, I've had basically a few problems with injuries again. Nothing major, but I've had my back kind of bother me recently, my knees, and that's been on and off. So right now, my main focus is get my body to a point where I'm not getting injured so much. Like a lot of you, if you follow me on Snapchat, you'll notice I'm doing yoga every single day, stretching every single day. I'm eating a lot more healthy than I've ever eaten before, exercising certain exercises that are helping injury prevention, so that when I do go out for a team again, I'm not, you know, I'm able to go to all the practices, playing all the games and everything like that. At the moment, I'm just working on that. I'm playing a game here and there in an amateur league that is around me. It's actually a pretty good amateur league. I think it's called the Casa League, I forget, as a guest player. So that's what I'm doing and where I'm at the moment. I'm probably going to take this winter to basically build myself up, to be able to work out, to be able to stretch, to be able to get my body to a point where it's not breaking down on me all the time. And then I'm going to start looking again at professional teams now that I actually have transportation and a way to get to practices and matches. And that's essentially where I am at the moment, guys. I'd say the biggest thing to take away from my story, again from part one, is do not think your talent is going to get you to that level. I had talent in spades. And you could ask the people who knew me when I was younger, the coaches I had a lot of talent. But as I grew older, as I became older, I didn't put in the work. And, you know, I wish I had influences who would kind of encouraged me to do so. But when it comes down to it, it's my fault. And it's why a lot of the times now when you watch my videos or my posts on Instagram or whatever, a lot of it is aimed towards telling you to be consistent, to be hardworking, to have good work ethic and build momentum, because those are the things that I didn't do when I was younger that really hurt me, and I don't want it to hurt you as well, because a lot of you out there are talented, you have the potential to get to the level you want to get to. But don't be fooled. You need to put in that consistency. You need to put in that hard work. You need to develop work ethic. You need to leave no stone unturned, essentially, and you can make it. I wish I had known that when I was in my teens or even earlier, but I can't reverse time, and I can only focus on now and do it now. All right, guys, so I have no idea how long this went on for. I hope it wasn't too rambly, but that's essentially my story from youth to now. Basically, moving forward, I'm just working on getting into really good shape, getting my fitness under control, again, because it's been a big problem area for me for a long time. It's to getting my body to a point where I'm not getting injured so often. Usually it's little injuries that keep me out for a week or two, but it's starting to get to the point where I really need to address it. And then in the spring and summer, I'm really going to be kind of going full throttle to get onto a professional team. And if not professional team, at least a semi-professional team. All right, guys, thank you for watching. I'm going to leave a video on the screen that I recommend you watch. We just did a video on shooting that I definitely recommend, and I'm going to put another video on there that you might like as well. Hit that subscribe button, please like and share this video, and let me know if you want me to do more videos like this that are a little more personal, and let me know if videos like this actually help you in any way. Thanks for watching, guys. Talk to you later.